Shalom. The year that I'm doing this video, 2024, Chanukah and Christmas fall at the same time. And so I thought it appropriate to show how Chanukah saved Christmas. Now, hang with me here if that statement surprises you. Let's go back to the beginning of this story, which starts in 332 BCE when Alexander the Macedonian, known in history as Alexander the Great, comes from Macedonian Greece, and conquers the known world at the time, Egypt, the Levant, what's today Syria, Iran, Iraq, all of this, on up to the border of India. And then he abruptly dies about 323 BCE over here in Egypt, and his successors, the Diadochoi, two of whom are important to us, are what come into the story now. The Ptolemies ruled his empire, the Egyptian part of his empire, and that included right up here the Levant, including the land of Israel, or the land of Canaan, as it was known before the Israelites conquered it. And the Seleucids ruled up here in Antioch and in what's today Syria, Iraq, Iran, right on up to India. They tried to take India unsuccessfully, but they were here. And then the others that were ruling in the West are not relevant for us in this discussion. Now, Antiochus III conquers the land, takes the land of Canaan away from the Ptolemies. And by the way, this period of bloody fighting between the Seleucids and the Ptolemies just wreaked havoc on the land. But as you can see, the land of Israel here is actually a land between three continents: Africa, Asia, and Europe to the west. And historically, that's always been its importance. But Antiochus IV, who called himself Epiphanes, which meant manifest, he thought he was a manifestation of the God. And he, by the way, his detractors called him Epimanes, the madman. But at any rate, he comes down and invades Egypt. There were two invasions, but I'll talk about the one that took place in 168 BCE. He takes Memphis and is outside Alexandria when a Roman fleet comes to intercept him, and the Roman emissary meets him outside Alexandria and gives him an ultimatum to get out of Egypt. And so Antiochus says, okay, I'll think about it. So the Roman emissary, according to Livy, the historian, draws a circle around, in the sand around him, draws a circle around Antiochus and says, in my own words, if I could paraphrase, okay, take all the time you want, but before you step out of this circle, make up your mind. So Antiochus took account of the great Roman fleet that was in the Mediterranean outside Egypt and decided that discretion is the better part of valor. And so he did beat a hasty retreat back to his home in Syria. But on the way, he comes by Jerusalem and he takes out all of his fury on Jerusalem. Now, Jerusalem at the time was already under his control, and he had installed Hellenizing high priests that were already trying to bring Hellenization to the fore and get rid of the old Jewish ways and the Jewish Torah and all of that. But through ruse, he manages to get into Jerusalem. Antiochus manages for his forces to get into Jerusalem. We're not sure if he himself entered. But at any rate, and they destroyed a lot of things there. They set up the abomination of desolation, which Daniel talks about in the book of Daniel. in the holy place in Jerusalem and set up some kind of idolatrous stuff there. Apparently, and so at this time, it becomes against the law to practice Judaism. You can't study Torah. You can't circumcise your children. You can't keep Shabbat. You can't keep kashrut or any of these things. And instead, they want the universal practice of Hellenism or Hellenistic Greek philosophy, theology, culture. All of that is being forced on the people. So you can imagine this doesn't go very well with the conservative Jewish establishment. And when one of the emissaries of Antiochus arrives in Modi'in, this little village right here to the east of Jerusalem, and maybe I can make it a little bigger here. There's Modi'in, which is a priestly city. Mattatyahu, head of a priestly clan there, is watching when this emissary of Antiochus orders the people to sacrifice a pig to the Greek god Zeus. And so when one of the Jews gladly rushes forward to offer sacrifice, this so angers Mattatyahu that he slays the man on the spot and kills the Seleucid emissary, thus touching off the Maccabean revolt. He takes his sons, they flee to Hare Gophna, the mountains of Judah, and they muster an army. Mattatyahu passes away within a year of this event, but one of his sons, Yehudah HaMaccabi, which Makevet is a hammer. And so Yehudah the hammer takes the lead, and in a miraculous series of 8 battles, he wins while greatly outnumbered from Seleucid forces. He wins, and of course they see this as the hand of God in all of this, and retakes Jerusalem. It cleanses it of all of the foreign idolatry that had been set up in there, because you're not supposed to have any idols or images or anything in Judaism. And while there, they rededicate the temple and all of this. And now, by the way, there is this story. It's not in any of the, it's not in First Maccabees, it's not in Josephus, it's not in the primary historical sources of the period about the miracle of the holy oil. In fact, it wasn't even in the Mishnah that Rabbi Yehudah Nasi told, but it's in a Baraita, that is the things left out that Rabbi Yehudah Nasi didn't include, that the Talmud cites about the miracle of the oil. The idea was that when they went to rededicate the temple, you have the 7-branched menorah that was supposed to be lit constantly illuminating the light of Hashem in the holy place. There was only enough oil for one day, but miraculously, after 8 days, when they had managed to make enough oil to last them, they discovered that miraculously the oil was still burning that they had lit 8 days earlier. Okay, so that's the story. But every year at Chanukah, Jews all over the world still celebrate the miracle of Chanukah. And I want to point out there are a number of miracles here, but the biggest was the fact that we got our own independent Jewish state for the first time since the Babylonians took it away in 586 BCE when they destroyed the Jewish temple, the first temple, the Solomon's temple. It had been built since the 10th century. When they destroyed that, and we were ruled first by the Babylonians, then by the Persians, and then by the Greeks, now by 142 BCE, we had an independent Jewish state in every way, and this was incredible. Unfortunately, it would eventually be taken away there was a civil war had broken out between Jewish brothers, Hyrcanus II and Aristobulus II, and they appealed to Rome to help settle their dispute, and Rome was only too happy to comply. And in 63 BCE, Pompey's troops invaded the country and went into Jerusalem and took it himself, thus beginning the Roman period. And after two failed Jewish revolts against Roman rule, ended in 135 CE under Hadrian, Yimach Shamo. The Emperor Hadrian also set up a set of rules abolishing Judaism as well, making it illegal to practice Judaism, circumcise your children, study Torah, and so on. And it was he who renamed the land of Israel. He renamed it Palestina after the Philistines, who had inhabited the coastal areas here, Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, these areas from in the Iron One period in the 12th century BCE. They were invaders who had come from the Aegean Islands, the Greek islands up here, and that's been proven from archaeology. And so they inhabited this coastline until they were subdued by, first by Saul and then by David finally in the United Monarchy by Iron II by about 1000 BCE. But at any rate, the Emperor Hadrian called the whole land Palestina in an effort to wipe out the memory of Israel forever. And his legacy is still with us to this day, because many people in the West would deny that there was ever a Jewish state or presence or anything in this land. And today they deny that the state of Israel has a right to exist. Now, I just want to back up, however, and return to my original point. What if there had been no Maccabean successful revolt? What if Hellenization had succeeded and Judaism had been wiped out in the 2nd century BCE? And Jews had assimilated, gone the way of many ancient peoples and nations and cultures. Well, not only would we not have Judaism today, but also we would not have the great world religion of Christianity, nor the great world religion of Islam for that matter. So the Jewish story, I would maintain, is really the story for the whole world, because what begins with the Jews never ends with the Jews. When they make it illegal to practice Judaism, you can be sure it won't be long before it's illegal to practice Christianity too, or whatever religion of the flavor of the day falls out of favor of ruling authorities. I began this video before going on patrol with the IDF Mishmar Gvul, and I've just come back from patrolling, and I wanted to point out that there is a direct continuation between the modern state of Israel, established in 1948, and the last time we had a Jewish state under the Maccabees. And just as the Maccabees had to fight to keep our people free, so today, sadly, in the modern state of Israel, we still have to fight to keep our people free. Just remember, freedom is never free, and don't believe all the negative things you hear about the state of Israel, because we actually try to minimize all civilian casualties and everything. But I wanted to point out, even if you're not Jewish, as you're celebrating Christmas, for example, this year, I'm speaking especially the Christians now, as you're celebrating Christmas, just remember, had there been no Maccabees, had there been no Chanukah, there would have been no Christianity either. Okay, thank you very much. And part of our calling, I believe, as Jews is, as our prophets have said, to be a light to the nations, to spread the knowledge of God's Torah to the whole world. And if you would like to come and study his Torah with us and the context of the Semitic languages, then please check out the Institute for Torah and Semitic Languages with the links below. Thank you.